Our journey begins on the cliffs overlooking the Tyrrhenian Sea, just south of Livorno, amid the breathtaking landscapes of southern Tuscany. Driven by the irrepressible power of the wind, waves rush to the shore, exploding into myriad sprays of foam. The wind joins us on our journey, sweeping us inland to the high ground that slopes down to the sea, where fairy tale landscapes slumber beneath the morning mists. But as the first rays of the sun lift the misty veil, unexpected profiles emerge on the horizon. We are in the hills of Montecatini Val di Cecina, where the great Montecatini Company was founded, which operated mines and controlled energy supply throughout Italy. And here, close to the old mine buildings amidst the ancient woods and walls that attract many tourists, futuristic structures now produce the energy of the future. This is the gateway to a vast territory that has turned renewable energy into the philosophy for its own development, and the elegant lines of the great wind turbines that stand on the top of the hills are now an integral part of the landscape. Slightly further inland, there's another surprise. The horizon is dotted with tall columns of vapor rising up to the sky, glittering in the low morning light. The vapor leads us to the geothermal heart of Italy, a place of fascinating charm where nature has hidden its vast treasure just beneath the surface of the earth. What happens here has been sparking people's imagination for thousands of years, fueling legends of demons and witchcraft amongst the fiery rocks and jets of steam. Movements of the tectonic plates across the various geological eras have left the Earth's crust much thinner here than anywhere else on the planet, just 7 or 8 kilometers thick, as opposed to the usual 100 kilometers. On top of the hills, we can now see what used to be the seabed, made up of layers of prehistoric shellfish, made incandescent by the searing temperature of the magma, which is so close to the surface that it has literally baked the rock, giving it a characteristic gray-white color. These are the Biancane, a lunar landscape that can be seen in very few parts of the world. It lets us imagine how the planet must have looked in the early days of its geological history, a glowing rift in the earth that runs alongside the village of Monterotondo Marittimo. When water seeping into the soil comes into contact with this immense heat, it produces enormous amounts of steam that forms boiling lakes on the surface. Valley of Hell and the Devil's Farmyard are just some of the names that popular superstition has attached to these places. The story of the smoldering earth, as reported in the Tabula Itineraria Peutingeriana from Roman times, flows around the village of Sasso Pisano, which is surrounded by sulfurous emanations and fumaroles. In a place called Bagnone, archaeologists have unearthed tanks for diving and channels carved into the stone, where the hot water from the nearby springs used to flow as part of a vast spa complex that has been in operation since the 3rd century BC. It was not until 1827 that heat from the earth came to be used for industrial purposes, when Francesco de Larderel started harnessing geothermal steam to extract boron and replacing traditional wood fires thanks to his ingenious cover for the boiling lakes. The boron industry flourished in these areas throughout the 19th century. And it was also during this time that the search for deep steam began, with the first rudimentary drilling. A new industrial system was created and new towns were established, such as Larderello, named after the pioneer of the modern utilization of geothermal heat. What was once de Larderel's villa is now home to the Museum of Geothermal Energy, containing a large number of historical objects and unique exhibits from our industrial history.
È nato tutto qui. Qui ci sono le prime tracce preistoriche dell'uso della geotermia, qui ci sono stati i primi usi industriali, le prime perforazioni, qui è stata prodotta per la prima volta a livello mondiale energia elettrica dal calore della terra. E proprio qui, ancora oggi, è il cuore dell'uso a livello mondiale dell'energia geotermica.
In the early 20th century, the industry associated with geothermal heat was given another powerful boost. There was constant effort to find more steam, using new drilling methods that replaced the archaic manual system. The first modern drilling rigs were installed in this period. In 1904, Prince Ginori Conti managed to light 5 light bulbs for the first time using a motor powered by geothermal steam. This was the start of energy production from renewable geothermal sources. Gleaming pipes channeling the hot steam are now stretched out across the hills around here like spider webs, blending in with the natural environment. The stark forms of medieval villages are reflected with surprising harmony in the modern lines of the power plants, making the area between Pomarance and Castelnuovo Val di Cecina a unique blend of history, nature, and industrial landscape. The drilling rig is a fascinating universe. Rods dozens of meters long are screwed together one after the other, with a rotating bit made of a special alloy at the end to pulverize the rock as it drills deeper and deeper, searching for pockets of steam. The bit begins its descent in the subsoil, where it drills down through kilometers of rock to release the steam and channel it up to the surface and onto the power plant to produce electricity. But this is first and foremost an ancient land, as testified by the massive ruins of the abbey founded in Lombard times near the middle of the 8th century by Saint Walfrid, facing Monteverdi Marittimo, the most southerly community in the province of Pisa. From here, we'll move on to the outskirts of Siena, at the foot of the steep hill home to Chiusdino, where we find one of the symbolic places of medieval Tuscany, the Hermitage of Monte Siepi, built around the summit of the hill where Galgano Guidotti, a man of arms who became a hermit, stuck his sword into a rock. In the valley just below the Hermitage is the famous church without a roof, the Abbey of San Galgano, a destination that attracts tourists from around the world. and dedicated to the warrior who became a saint.
Questa parte della Toscana centro-meridionale è caratterizzata non solo dalla presenza del calore della terra, ma anche da un ricchissimo passato. Nei borghi, nei paesi, nelle varie rocche che noi incontriamo, ritroviamo traccia di questo enorme patrimonio storico-artistico.
We're going south now, along the eastern slopes of Mount Amiata, climbing right up to the rugged crags with the old Rocca of Radicofani, an impregnable fortress, the eagle's nest of another medieval warrior, Gino di Tacco, the brooding romantic warlord, still armed and looking out over his manor today. From here, the land rises skyward to the sacred mountain of the Etruscans, the enormous, now dormant volcano that dominates the horizon of southern Tuscany. The Aldobrandeschi family that ruled over these lands encircled the entire mountain with imposing fortresses, each surrounded by a cluster of houses clinging to the mountainside, in a string of villages draped around the mountain like a pearl necklace, following the courses of streams. Places such as Pian Castagnaio, Roccalbegna, Castel del Piano, and Arcidosso stand on top of the cliffs almost within shouting distance of each other in an unparalleled landscape steeped in history. It is a harsh landscape that served for centuries as the refuge of warriors and saints, where the atmosphere is infused with a deep and ancient spirituality. It is dotted with shrines and stories of faith, like David Lazzaretti, a mystic with a great following from the 19th century, remembered today as the Christ of Amiata. It is in the depths of the ancient volcano that the real treasures are to be found. Rich deposits of all kinds of minerals were raised to the surface by eruptions millions of years ago, which is why the Amiata was the mountain of mines for centuries. This history of endeavor, which lives on today in the numerous galleries and museums, gave rise to great industries for extracting mercury sulfide, also known as cinnabar for the domestic and foreign markets. Nothing is extracted from the heart of the mountain anymore, but the water that flows into it from the slopes is still a great resource. Here, the names of many towns reflect the water warmed by the heat of the volcano that they use, like the spring that flows into the hot water pools at the foot of the hill with the town of San Casciano dei Bagni on the eastern slopes of the Amiata. High above, in Santa Fiora, the houses in the old village crowd around an immense basin in the heart of the community, with the modern geothermal power stations nestling in the countryside not far away. The latest generation technological power stations are capable of increasingly high power output from steam. The process itself is simple and straightforward. The steam enters a turbine connected to an alternator which rotates to generate electricity 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Once it has given up its energy, the steam cools and condenses, creating a dense and continuous rain which is re-injected into the land to feed back into the geothermal cycle. The installations on Amiata, like all similar ones, have integral systems for removing any substances that the steam carries along with it, to ensure the natural environment is not altered in any way.
Il futuro della geotermia è nelle nostre zone anche il ritorno all'antico, alla tradizione, all'uso diretto del calore. Noi troviamo sempre più spesso agricoltori, piccoli produttori locali che nelle loro produzioni di qualità sostituiscono la fonte fossile con energie rinnovabili, dal fotovoltaico al mini eolico, dalle biomasse naturalmente alla geotermia, che è la risorsa tipica di queste zone.
The renewable energy zone spans a wide area of historic Tuscany, amongst woods and hills where high-quality livestock and crops are raised, as they always have been in this land with great tourist appeal. We're in Radicondoli, a charming village nestling in gentle folds of cultivated land, surrounded by a scattering of farms. Even these small businesses are now benefiting from the use of clean energy. Marco lives at the farm on the hillside below the village with his family, where he provides farm holidays and produces wine, olive oil, and preserves.
Noi siamo qui dal 76, io e mia moglie. Abbiamo iniziato subito a fare agricoltura biologica, per cui abbiamo cominciato a sondare la possibilità di fornire la nostra fattoria di energie rinnovabili.
The sun, another fellow traveler in the land of clean energy. Among these hills, there are many who also rely on photovoltaic systems for their basic energy needs. Solar tracking panels rotate to capture the sun's rays throughout the day to ensure maximum energy efficiency, using a very simple mechanism and centralized computer system. Most of the hot water for the farm is produced this way using solar energy, with a simple facility installed in the corner of the farm. For periods of low sun radiation, Marco uses the olive stones remaining after the olives have been pressed to supply fuel for the biomass boiler. The farm's requirements are thus well met throughout the year with a combination of renewable energy sources.
Accanto alla storia, accanto alle competenze maturate nel settore geotermico, il nostro territorio è stato anche in grado di esprimere delle eccellenze a livello mondiale nel settore del risparmio energetico, dell'efficienza energetica. Qui sono nati laboratori che in questo senso sono fra i primi al mondo.
At the heart of the geothermal zone, an advanced laboratory carries out tests on the operation of gas turbines. Giants of world technology come here to develop new systems for more efficient energy that release increasingly lower levels of emissions into the atmosphere. Whole towns can now enjoy the benefits gained from using renewable energy. And it so happens that one village that traces its history back 1,000 years is now the subject of a European project to develop a heating system for all the medieval buildings using geothermal heat. Valentina, a researcher at the Polytechnic University of Turin, has carried out an extensive study on how to adapt new technology to these historic buildings.
Montieri è l'unico sito italiano che fa parte del progetto Geothermal Communities, un progetto europeo di cui fanno parte anche una località in Ungheria e una località in Slovacchia.
The task is much more complex than installing systems in modern streets because of the narrow medieval alleyways. The cobbles in the old roads are dismantled stone by stone to expose the underlying earth so that pipes for carrying hot water to the houses can be installed below, which will flow like the lifeblood of the village to bring heat from the nearby geothermal wells.
Proprio in questo punto possiamo vedere come la pavimentazione preesistente è stata rimossa. È stato effettuato lo scavo, sono stati messi giù i tubi del teleriscaldamento insieme a tutti gli altri sottoservizi, rete elettrica, acqua e quant'altro. I tubi del teleriscaldamento sono poi collegati alle abitazioni mediante degli allacci che trovano spazio all'interno di queste nicchie sui basamento dell'abitazione. Qui possiamo vedere come il piano stradale originale è stato smontato. Le pietre sono state accantonate ed è stato rifatto il sottofondo della pavimentazione. Alla fine dei lavori le pietre verranno di nuovo riposate sulla strada per ottenere quello che era il selciato originale.
As the pipes are laid, teams of masons carefully replace the ancient cobblestones, a highly detailed task requiring patience and skill, in order to return the streets and piazzas of the village to the splendor they must have had centuries ago when the cobbles were first laid. Below them, a constant supply of renewable energy now flows to every home. And so we come to the end of our journey in this land, with spectacular steam rising up from the geothermal wells to the clouds above, to revitalize the never-ending cycle that supports life in these hills with clean energy.